Nadia, thanks for being with us. This first day of a quasi-deconfinement, what's it like where you are this afternoon?
The atmosphere pretty relaxed where I am at the moment, Sad. And this is normally a big shopping area. One of the biggest malls in Paris is just behind me here. Now, there are actually some shoppers out today, many of them young people, many of them telling us they've come out today for the first time in 8 weeks to spend a bit of time with their friends and to do some shopping as well. You may be able to see behind me here, we have the Nike store, a big athletic and trainer store. There, people are queuing, dozens of them actually, as we speak behind me, many of them wearing masks as the Nike store employs a one in, one out policy. No big worry then about whether or not Nike's business here in Paris is going to recover from that 8 weeks without any customers. But there are, of course, bigger concerns for some of the smaller independent shops here in the centre of Paris.
Nadia, seeing queues there right behind you, you've spent the day on the streets of Paris, you've been speaking to some shoppers. What's the general feeling? Is it really back to normal for many, or are there some people who are quite concerned about the lifting of the lockdown?
Certainly, I think it's very mixed, isn't it? Some people are relieved, as I said, particularly young people who've been cooped up in small apartments with their families for a long time. Very relieved to be getting out today. Lots of people in France, in fact, the majority of people in Paris live in single-person households. So today is perhaps the opportunity for the first time in a long time to socialise, to meet their friends, to meet their partners if they don't live with them. But of course, as you say, there is real concern as well. That possible second wave of infection that we've talked about. Could this lifting of the lockdown be too fast or too broad, meaning that France may be forced back into confinement in several weeks' time? That is something a number of people here in the centre of the capital have mentioned to us today, particularly shopkeepers who are concerned that not everybody will be abiding by the very strong suggestion from the government that everybody wears masks when they're out and about, but that is not obligatory in the way that it is on the underground. So there are some real concerns that not everybody is going to take these safety measures seriously, and we may see France returning to a much stricter lockdown in the coming weeks.
Now, you've been speaking of some of these measures. You and I, Nadia, spoke earlier. You were on the Champs-Élysées, the very well-known avenue here in Paris. You've been popping into some of those shops. Can you tell us what they're looking like inside? What measures have been implemented by the management of these shops to make sure that there is some level of prevention when it comes to the spread of COVID-19?
Well, most shops are employing, at least in this neighbourhood, a one-in, one-out policy, only one person going in at any given time. And there are stickers in different parts of the store to ensure that people try to maintain that 1 metre distance. Lots of places also asking for contactless payments, or certainly payments by card, not by cash, where it's thought it's easier to transfer the infection. But there are still, nonetheless, real concerns from people who own small stores here in Paris. They remind us that although people can move with relative ease inside the city now, there are still regulations on people taking the metro during rush hour. That means there may well be fewer shoppers during rush hour periods. Those outside the 100-kilometre limit of Paris won't be able to come into the city to shop as well. And the other big concern, of course, for owners of independent shops here in central Paris is there are no tourists for the foreseeable future. It's possible that from June the 15th, tourists from the Schengen area, from the European Union, may be allowed to come to France and get some of these businesses going. But from outside of the European Union, we have no deadline when those American and Chinese tourists will return to the French capital. And that is a big concern for a number of people we've been speaking to today.